She asks you a simple question over morning coffee. What would you do if we weren't together anymore? You laugh it off as just random pillow talk, but what you don't realize is that she's not asking hypothetically. She's gathering intelligence. She's testing your reactions. And she's building her exit strategy one innocent question at a time. Before we dive deep into this, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. Today I'm exposing the 5 seemingly innocent questions that women ask when they're secretly planning their exit. Questions that sound like casual conversation, but are actually reconnaissance missions. I know these because I've asked them myself. I've heard women strategize about them, and I've watched them work with devastating effectiveness. What makes this so dangerous is that these questions sound completely normal. You could hear any of these in a healthy relationship from someone who's genuinely curious. But when a woman is planning to leave, these innocent-sounding questions become weapons of psychological warfare, designed to extract crucial information she'll need for her exit strategy. Question number 1. What would happen to our house money if we split up? Here's what's really happening when a woman asks about financial arrangements in a hypothetical breakup. She's doing reconnaissance on what she'd walk away with, what she'd have to fight for, and what her financial position would be. This isn't idle curiosity, it's strategic planning. The intelligence she's gathering serves multiple purposes. First, she's testing your knowledge of marital property laws. Do you understand how assets get divided? Are you aware of your rights? Do you know what you're legally entitled to? Your level of knowledge tells her how much of an advantage she might have if she's better informed. Second, she's gauging your emotional attachment to specific assets. When you talk about our house versus the house, when you seem more concerned about certain investments or possessions, she's mentally cataloging what matters most to you. This information becomes crucial during actual divorce negotiations. Third, she's understanding your financial priorities in a potential split. Are you the type who would fight for every dollar, or would you want a quick, clean separation? Would you be vindictive about money, or would you be reasonable? Your answer helps her strategize her approach. Here's what women don't tell you. She's probably already researched this topic extensively. She's looked up your state's divorce laws online, talked to divorced friends about their experiences, and maybe even had an informal consultation with a lawyer. This question is her way of seeing if your understanding matches what she's already learned. If you're completely clueless about your own rights, she knows she has a significant advantage. Watch for red flags like sudden interest in your financial documents, asking specific questions about your retirement accounts or investments, curiosity about property ownership and titles, or unexpected interest in how assets are divided in your state. These aren't random interests. They're research. Here's how to respond strategically. Don't laugh off these questions or get defensive. Engage with them seriously and thoughtfully. Show that you've considered these issues too, and that you're not financially naive. Sometimes just demonstrating that you understand your rights and have thought about asset protection can completely change her calculation about whether leaving would be advantageous. Question number 2. Do you ever think about what you'd do if you were single again? This isn't idle curiosity about your inner thoughts and dreams. She's measuring your emotional dependence on the relationship, trying to understand how much of your identity is tied to being with her, and assessing how difficult it would be for you to move on if she left. The strategic purpose behind this question is multifaceted. She's trying to understand how much guilt she'll need to manage when she leaves. If you answer that you'd be completely lost without her, that you can't imagine life without the relationship, she knows that leaving will be emotionally brutal for you, but it also tells her that you're completely unprepared for independence, which might actually make her exit easier to execute because you won't see it coming. She's also assessing whether you'd fight for the relationship or accept the breakup. Men who seem too dependent often become desperate and clingy when they sense the relationship ending. Men who seem too independent might not fight hard enough to keep her. She's looking for information about how you'd react to being left. Here's the twisted psychology behind this. She wants to know that she matters to you, but she also wants to know that she's not responsible for your entire happiness and well-being. If your answer suggests that losing her would completely ruin your life, it makes leaving feel like emotional murder. But if you seem too excited about the possibility of being single, she might accelerate her timeline because she feels less guilty about it. What she's looking for is a very specific type of answer. The right response from her perspective is that you'd be sad but ultimately okay, that you have interests, goals, and a sense of self that exists independently of the relationship. Ironically, showing that you'd survive without her makes her feel less guilty about planning to leave you. This creates a psychological trap for men. If you're too honest about how much the relationship means to you, you signal dangerous dependence. If you're too casual about the possibility of being single, you give her permission to leave without guilt. The question is designed to extract information that she can use either way. Here's what women don't admit. We often ask this question because we've already started mentally living single lives. We've been imagining what we'd do, where we'd go, who we'd see if we weren't tied down by this relationship. We're not asking about your hypothetical single life. We're testing whether you'd interfere with ours. The most strategic response is to show that you're a complete person who happens to be in a relationship, not someone whose identity depends on being coupled. Talk about your individual goals, interests, and friendships, while also expressing that you choose to be in this relationship because it adds value to your already full life. Question number 3. Have you ever thought about dating someone completely different from me? This question is incredibly sophisticated because it works on several levels at once. First, she's checking if you've been thinking about other women and testing your loyalty to the relationship. Second, she's gathering intelligence about what might make you more susceptible to outside temptation during her exit process. Third, she's researching what type of woman might catch your eye after she's gone. The replacement strategy aspect is particularly calculating. She wants to know what type of woman you might move on with after she leaves. This helps her predict how quickly you might recover from the breakup and what kind of person you might choose next. It's competitive intelligence for the post-relationship landscape. She's also testing your honesty in a very specific way. If you lie and claim you never think about other women, she knows you're either being dishonest or you're completely naive about human nature. Neither response inspires confidence. If you're too enthusiastic about describing other types or specific women you find attractive, she files that information away as evidence of your wandering eye and justification for her own behavior. Here's what makes this question particularly insidious. She's often asking because she's already been thinking about dating someone different from you. She's projecting her own thoughts and curiosity onto you. If she's already emotionally or physically involved with someone else, this question helps her gauge whether you might be doing the same thing, which would reduce her guilt. The loyalty test component is designed to reveal how committed you really are to your current relationship. Are you still actively noticing and evaluating other women as potential partners? Do you seem unsatisfied with what you have? Or are you so focused on your relationship that you don't really consider alternatives? What she's looking for is a very specific type of response that balances honesty with reassurance. The ideal answer, from her perspective, acknowledges that you notice other attractive people, because denying this makes you seem dishonest, but emphasizes that you're not interested in pursuing anyone else because you're satisfied with your current relationship. But here's the trap. Even the right answer gives her valuable information. If you say you're completely satisfied and not looking elsewhere, she knows that you're not prepared for the relationship to end. If you admit to noticing others but claim you'd never act on it, she knows what type of temptation might work on you later. Sometimes this question emerges because she's already identified there's someone different she wants to date. She's not asking hypothetically. She's asking because she's comparing you to a specific alternative. Your answer helps her justify her choice by highlighting how you don't measure up to this new person's qualities. Acknowledge that you notice attractive people because you're human, but emphasize that noticing and wanting are completely different things. Make it clear that you're satisfied with your relationship and not actively evaluating alternatives. Question number 4. Do you think we want the same things in life? This question is fundamentally about manufacturing evidence of incompatibility rather than discovering it. She's not suddenly concerned about whether you want the same things. She's looking for ways to frame your differences as fundamental problems that make the relationship unsustainable. The narrative-building aspect is crucial to understand. Every answer you give becomes potential ammunition for the story she'll tell about why the relationship didn't work. If you mention wanting different careers, she'll frame it as fundamental incompatibility. If you want the same things she claims to want, she'll say you're not ambitious enough or that you're just copying her dreams without having your own vision. She's also testing your commitment to your shared future. If you seem wishy-washy about your goals or unsure about what you want from life, she knows you won't fight hard to preserve the relationship when she starts pulling away. Men without strong personal direction are easier to leave because they don't have competing visions to argue for. Here's the projection game at work. Often, this question emerges because her wants and goals have changed, usually because she's met someone who's inspired new dreams or shown her different possibilities. She's not asking if you want the same thing she wants. She's asking if you want the same things her new interest wants. The psychological manipulation is sophisticated. By emphasizing differences in goals and values, she's creating emotional distance between you. She's making both of you feel like you're not as compatible as you thought, which makes the eventual breakup feel inevitable rather than chosen. It's relationship sabotage disguised as relationship assessment. What she's looking for is either admission that you want different things, which justifies her leaving, or revelation that you don't have strong opinions about your future, which makes her feel like you're not a real partner in building a life together. Either answer serves her exit strategy. Sometimes she'll use this question to get you talking extensively about your dreams and plans, then later claim that you never shared these thoughts with her before, or that she didn't realize how different your visions were. She's creating a record of incompatibility that she can reference later to justify her departure. The future faking element is particularly cruel. She might enthusiastically discuss shared dreams and goals to get you invested in a future together, then later claim that these conversations revealed fundamental differences that she only noticed in hindsight. Your enthusiasm for shared planning becomes evidence that you were forcing compatibility that didn't really exist. We're often asking this question because someone else has shown us a different version of our future. We're not discovering that we want different things from you. We're discovering that we want the same things as someone else, and comparing that compatibility to what we have with you. The most insidious part is how this question makes you examine and articulate your goals, which she can then use against you. If you've never been forced to clearly state what you want from life, this conversation might reveal that you and she do want different things. Differences that never mattered before, but suddenly become relationship-ending incompatibilities. The strategic response is to be clear about your own goals while emphasizing shared values and vision. Don't let her reframe normal differences as fundamental incompatibilities, and don't get trapped into extensive discussions that give her ammunition for future arguments. Question number 5. What would your family friends think if we broke up? When she asks questions like, do you think your family would be surprised if we didn't work out? What would your friends say if you told them we broke up? Do you think people expect us to get married? Or, would your family blame me if things didn't work out between us? She's conducting comprehensive social intelligence gathering. This is about mapping out support systems, understanding social consequences, and identifying potential allies or obstacles in both your circles. She's preparing for the social management aspect of the breakup, which is often more complex and long-lasting than the emotional or financial aspects. The support system assessment is crucial for her planning. She's trying to understand how much emotional support you'd have if she left. If your family and friends adore her, you'll have more people asking questions about what went wrong and potentially taking her side or encouraging reconciliation. If they're indifferent or already have concerns about the relationship, the breakup will be socially easier for her to navigate. She's also deeply concerned about how she'll be perceived after the breakup. Will people see her as the villain who broke your heart, or will they understand that the relationship just didn't work out? This affects her social standing, her relationships with mutual friends, and her future dating prospects within your shared social circles. Your answer tells her how much social pressure exists to keep the relationship together. If everyone expects you to get married and would be shocked by a breakup, she knows she'll face more scrutiny and judgment for leaving. If people already have doubts about your compatibility, she has social cover for her decision. Here's the preemptive strike element. Sometimes this question is followed by subtle campaigns to change how your friends and family perceive the relationship. She might start mentioning problems or incompatibilities to key people in your circle, preparing them for the eventual breakup announcement. She's managing the narrative before it becomes necessary. What she's looking for is the path of least social resistance. The easiest answer for her is that people like her, but wouldn't be devastated if you broke up. This means she can leave without feeling like she's destroyed your entire social world or turned important people against you. The guilt distribution aspect is significant. She wants to know if she'll be seen as the bad guy, or if people will understand that sometimes relationships just don't work out. She's looking for ways to minimize social fallout and maintain her relationships with people she's grown close to through your relationship. We're often asking this because we've already started testing the waters with mutual friends or family members. We want to know who we can count on for support and who might make the breakup process more difficult by taking sides or asking uncomfortable questions. The strategic networking component is sophisticated. If she learns that certain people in your circle have always had doubts about the relationship, she might start confiding in them or seeking their perspective. She's building a coalition of people who will validate her decision to leave when the time comes. She's also assessing whether she'll be able to maintain relationships with people she's grown close to through your relationship. If your sister has become her close friend, or if she's developed relationships with your social group, she wants to know if leaving you means losing those connections too. Here's what makes these questions so devastating. They all sound completely normal. You could ask any of these questions in a healthy relationship out of genuine curiosity. But when a woman is planning to leave, these questions become weapons of intelligence, gathering disguised as intimate conversation. The emotional manipulation aspect is perhaps the cruelest part. These questions make you feel closer to her because you think she's being vulnerable and curious about your relationship. You probably answer honestly and thoughtfully, never realizing that you're providing intelligence that will be used to facilitate your abandonment. What men consistently miss is the context. Men hear these as philosophical discussions or signs that she's thinking deeply about your future together. Women asking these questions are usually thinking about your future apart. The questions sound identical, but the motivation changes everything. The strategic advantage she gains is enormous. By the time she's gathered all this information, she knows your financial situation, emotional dependencies, social support system, attraction patterns, life goals, and social consequences. She's prepared for every aspect of the breakup while you're still thinking everything is fine. The pattern recognition is crucial. One of these questions might be genuine curiosity. 2 might be coincidences. 3 or more suggests systematic intelligence gathering for strategic purposes. The frequency and timing matter more than the content of any individual question. If you're hearing multiple questions from this list, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Your response can actually change the entire dynamic, and sometimes even save a relationship that's heading toward the exit door. The strategic response framework starts with not laughing off these questions or treating them as hypothetical. Engage seriously and thoughtfully. Show that you've considered these issues too, and that you're not naive about relationships, life planning, or human nature. The reverse psychology element is powerful. Sometimes showing that you're prepared for these scenarios makes them less appealing to pursue. If she realizes you're not going to be destroyed caught off guard, or left helpless, the power dynamic shifts significantly in your favor. Start your own documentation strategy. Pay attention to these conversations and track patterns, not to build a case against her, but to prepare yourself emotionally and practically for what might be coming. Knowledge is power, and pattern recognition gives you time to respond rather than just react. Consider addressing the pattern directly if you notice multiple questions. You might say something like, "I've noticed you've been asking a lot of questions about hypothetical breakups lately. Is there something specific you're concerned about that we should discuss?" This forces her to either explain her genuine concerns or reveal her intentions. I know this information might be uncomfortable, especially if you're recognizing these questions from your own relationship. But knowledge is power, and understanding these patterns can help you respond strategically rather than reactively. The hard truth is that a woman who's committed to your future together doesn't need to gather intelligence about your breakup. She might ask one of these questions out of genuine curiosity, but multiple questions suggest systematic planning rather than casual interest. But here's what changes everything. Once you understand what these questions really mean, you can't be caught off guard. You can prepare yourself emotionally, financially, and legally. You can make informed decisions instead of reactive ones. You can maintain your power and dignity regardless of what she decides to do. The protection strategy involves having your own conversations about these topics, but from a position of strength. Show that you're aware, prepared, and not dependent on the relationship for your identity, financial security, or social connections. Subscribe for more relationship intelligence from a woman's perspective. Comment if you've heard these questions in your own relationship. You're not alone. Share this with men who need to understand these patterns. Join the community for men navigating these complex situations. Remember, the woman who's planning a future with you doesn't need to interview you about a future without you. Trust your instincts, prepare yourself wisely, and never let anyone use your honesty and vulnerability as weapons against you. You deserve better than being someone's backup plan while they scout for alternatives.